Question number 2, Craig Foss.
Mr Speaker. Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and reads, what reports has he received on the economy?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, Statistics New Zealand yesterday issued the Consumer Price Index for the year to September 2010. It shows that annual inflation was just 1.5%, the lowest annual figure since 1.5% inflation in the year to March 2004. The last time inflation was lower than 1.5% was in the year to December 1999. The CPI figures confirm that cost of living increases have generally been low, and putting these low cost of living increases alongside relatively low wage increases, in fact real wages have been gradually increasing, the opposite of what was happening under the previous government.
Craig Foss.
Mr Speaker, thank you. Supplementary to the Minister of Finance. To the Minister, how does the latest inflation data compare with the situation 2 years ago?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, in the year to September 2008, when the economy was then in deep recession, annual inflation was 5.1%. The government of the day was not proposing any compensation for anybody, and as a result of 5% inflation, real after-tax wages were falling. In the last 2 years, consumer price inflation has totaled just 3%. That is less than half of the 7% inflation in the 2 years to September 2008.
Supplementary.
Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Craig
to
Foss.
the Minister, what are some examples of trends in consumer prices in the last 2 years, and how do they compare with price movements in the previous 2 years?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, in the 2 years to September 2008, overall food prices jumped 15%. In the 2 years since then, they have risen, but they've only risen by around 5%. We could break, in addition to changes in food prices, petrol prices jumped 22% in the 2 years to September 2008, and they've actually fallen by 14% since then. House rents increased 6% in the 2 years to September 2008. The increase in the past 2 years has been about 3%. The general pattern is that real wages were falling up to September 2008, and since then real wages have been rising.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker,
Order.
To the Minister...
Order. I've called the member's colleague. The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, why is he trumpeting his success in bringing down inflation when it is a direct result of the worst recession in 70 years? And if he's picking a year to quote inflation, does this mean he'll next be picking 1929?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, no, Mr Speaker, the issue has come up because the Labour Party has been claiming that the cost of living is out of control.
Order. A point of order has been called.
Mr Speaker, I think you'll agree that the supplementary question was quite direct and quite without political epithet, and it was simply asking about the relationship between his claims to have lowered inflation and the recessionary conditions. Instead of answering that on the fact, sir, he's begun a tirade about Labour Party policy, which he's clearly worried about.
Senior Whip should know better than to interject. If I recollect correctly, the member in asking his question asked why the Minister was using certain figures, and the Minister is explaining why. And the Speaker cannot assist if the member doesn't like the Minister's reasons, but he's certainly at liberty to explain why. The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, of course the recession has had some impact on inflation, but the member can't have it both ways. He can't claim it's out of control and then say it's low because of the recession. But he might be able to explain himself how he managed under his government in a deep recession to achieve 5% very high inflation in 2008.
Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance. How have real and after-tax wage movements also left New Zealanders better off since September 2008, and how do these figures compare with those for the previous 2 years?
The Honourable Billingham.
Mr Speaker, if you use the series of numbers that are used to determine national superannuation, which both governments have used for some time, real inflation-adjusted gross wages have increased 5% in the last 2 years, after no movement at all in the 2 years to September 2008. If you look at real after-tax wages, that is taking into account two rounds of tax cuts under National, these have increased 9% in the last 2 years. This compares with a 1% fall in the 2 years to 2008 and a meagre 3% rise in real after-tax wages from 1999 to 2008.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, why would Kiwi families care about the square root of his housing allowance or some other number concoction when what they know is that every week they are finding it harder to make ends meet, when median wages dropped by 9% in the last year, $9 a week, and veggie prices, for example, have increased 20%.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, in the last few weeks, the government has implemented its change in tax policy, and for many New Zealanders, they will be finding that the reduction in income tax is giving them higher wages each week, and those higher wages more than offset the extra GST. So they are better off. More importantly, the tax switch is going to help us build a strong economy with more investment and more jobs, and in the longer term, even higher incomes.
Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance. What reports has he received on New Zealand's tax changes this month, which have left the vast majority of New Zealanders better off?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, I noted a report from KPMG yesterday.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallow.
Sorry, Mr Speaker, I assumed you were going to interrupt that question. The degree of assertion that was in that question was
Order.
well beyond what you would normally allow from our side.
Right now. If he listened to his colleague's question only a few moments ago, it contained more statements asserting facts than were in Craig Foss's question. And if the member wants me to clamp down on that kind of question, I'm very happy to, but at least half his colleagues' questions will be ruled out. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, I noted a report yesterday by KPMG which set out two things. First, that New Zealand is unique in the world in matching higher indirect taxes with income tax cuts. Other countries have been lifting their indirect taxes, but New Zealand is the only country in the world that has matched it with reductions in personal income tax, which are going to encourage savings and investment and exports. I also note the report said that New Zealand has the fourth lowest GST rate in the OECD. Only Canada, Japan, Switzerland and Australia and Korea are behind New Zealand. So we have a comprehensive GST that raises sufficient revenue to allow us to significantly cut income tax rates.
Question number 3, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.